The jungle was silent, almost too silent, as if the night itself was holding its breath. The trees were tall and strange, their roots glowing faintly in the darkness, and the air carried a damp, heavy smell of soil and moss. A human explorer, named Daniel, walked carefully, his boots pressing against the thick undergrowth. His eyes scanned the shadows, his hand resting on the handle of his plasma knife. He had been warned. This alien world was not safe after sunset. Suddenly, a sound broke the silence. It was not the cry of an animal, not the screech of any predator. It was a child's voice, high and filled with fear. "Human, help my mom," it shouted. The voice echoed between the giant trees, sharp and desperate. Daniel froze. His heart beat faster. Was it real? Or was it a trick? Many hunters on alien worlds used sound to lure prey, but then the cry came again, weaker this time, filled with panic. "Please, help, my mom is trapped." The sound was not far. Daniel's training told him to stay away. His instincts told him it could be a trap, yet something inside him, something deeply human, pushed him forward. He could not ignore the cry of a child. He moved quickly through the trees, careful but determined. The light on his shoulder lamp cut through the darkness, showing twisted roots and glowing plants. The cry led him to a small clearing, and there he saw it. His breath caught in his chest. In the middle of the clearing was an alien woman, tall and graceful even in pain. Her skin was pale blue, and her arms were trapped in a cruel metal snare. The device had sharp wires that cut into her flesh, glowing red where they burned her skin. She struggled weakly, every movement making the wires tighten. Beside her stood a small alien child, no older than 8. Her large eyes glistened with tears, and her voice shook as she called out again, "Please, human, help my mom." Daniel's eyes narrowed. He had seen snares before. They were not natural. This was hunter technology, machines built to trap and kill. Whoever had set it would not be far. His mind screamed caution, but his heart saw the suffering. The child stepped forward, her small hands raised in pleading. "She will die if you do not help. Please, please. She cannot move. The trap cuts deeper." Her words broke something inside Daniel. He lowered his weapon slightly, showing he meant no harm. "Stay calm," Daniel said in simple, clear words. "I will try to help her, but you must stay back. It might be dangerous." The girl nodded quickly, wiping her tears. Daniel knelt beside the trap, studying it. The metal wires were strange. They moved like snakes, tightening whenever the alien woman pulled against them. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. The woman's breathing was shallow, her eyes half closed. But when she saw Daniel, a spark of hope flickered in her gaze. "Human," she whispered weakly, her voice trembling. "Why would you help us?" Daniel did not answer right away. He focused on the trap. His knife hummed faintly as he tested the wires. Sparks flew as the blade touched the surface. The trap was advanced, far beyond what most frontier hunters used. Whoever had placed it wanted their prey to suffer. "You don't need to understand," Daniel finally said. "You just need to hold on. I'm not leaving you here." The child knelt beside her mother, holding her hand. Her eyes never left Daniel. The trust in her gaze was heavy, and Daniel felt the weight of it. He knew he could not fail. He cut one of the wires, but the trap reacted. The ground beneath them shook, and a warning light on the snare began to glow. The child gasped. "It will call them! The hunters will come!" Daniel cursed under his breath. His suspicion had been right. This was more than a trap. It was a signal, a device meant not only to capture but to alert. He worked faster, his knife slicing through metal strands. Every cut made the trap resist. Harder, tightening in other places. The alien woman cried out in pain, but Daniel did not stop. Minutes felt like hours. Sweat rolled down his forehead. Finally, with one last strike, the last wire snapped. The trap hissed and collapsed, releasing the alien woman. She slumped forward into her daughter's arms, gasping for breath. The child clung to her, sobbing with relief. Daniel stood, breathing heavily. His hand still gripped the knife. His eyes searched the shadows. He knew it was not over. Somewhere out there, hunters were already moving toward them. The signal had been sent. The alien mother looked up at him. weak but alive. "You saved me," she whispered. Her voice was filled with disbelief. "A human saved me." Daniel gave a small nod. "No one deserves to die like that," he said simply. His gaze moved to the trees, where the night had grown darker. "But we don't have much time. They'll be here soon." The child's small hand grabbed his, pulling at him with urgency. "Then please don't leave us, human. We cannot fight them alone." Daniel's jaw tightened. His mission had been something else entirely. He was never supposed to interfere. But now, standing in the clearing with the alien mother weak and the child pleading, he knew he had already made his choice. Far away, the first sound of footsteps echoed in the jungle, heavy and metallic. The hunters were coming, and Daniel was ready to face them. The jungle no longer felt quiet. It was alive with a low hum, a vibration under the ground. Daniel could feel it through his boots. The trap that once held the alien mother had sent its message. Now the hunters would be coming, and they would not stop until they found their prey. Daniel stood tall, his eyes scanning the trees. His knife was still warm from cutting the wires. The alien child clutched his arm tightly, her wide eyes full of fear. Beside her, the alien mother struggled to stay on her feet. Her wounds were deep, thin lines of glowing red where the trap had burned her skin. She tried to move, but every step made her stumble. "You cannot carry her alone," Daniel told the child firmly. "I will help, but you must stay close. Do not run away." The girl nodded quickly, tears still shining in her eyes. Daniel bent down, lifted the mother carefully onto his back. She was taller than him, her body light but trembling with pain. The child walked beside him, holding her mother's hand. They moved into the thick jungle, away from the clearing. Daniel's instincts guided him to avoid open paths. He pushed through giant leaves, stepped over twisted roots, and stayed under the cover of shadows. Yet he knew the hunters would track them. They always did. Behind them, the broken snare still glowed faintly, and a thin line of smoke rose into the sky. It was a beacon, a sign to anyone nearby that prey had escaped. The alien mother whispered weakly, "Why do you risk your life for us human?" Daniel kept moving, his eyes alert. "Because no one else will," he said simply. "And I won't let a child watch her mother die." The child looked up at him, her voice small. Other humans, would they do the same? Daniel did not answer right away. He thought of his people scattered across space, some kind, some cruel. Humanity was full of contradictions. "Some would," he finally said. "Others might not. But tonight I am here, and I will not leave you." The girl gave a faint smile, though her eyes still carried fear. Her small trust felt heavier than any weapon Daniel had ever held. Suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the night. Clang, clang, clang. Metallic. Footsteps steady and unhurried. The hunters were close. Daniel froze, listening. He could hear at least 3, maybe more. Their heavy boots pressed against the roots with no care for silence. They were confident, certain their prey could not escape. Daniel moved the alien mother and child into a hollow beneath a giant fallen tree. "Stay here," he whispered. "Do not make a sound, no matter what happens. Wait until I return." The child grabbed his wrist. "But they will kill you." Daniel's eyes hardened. "Not tonight," he said, and carefully pulled free from her grip. He slipped into the shadows, moving low and silent. His heart was steady, his body tense. He had faced enemies before, but these hunters were different. They were not here for war or honor. They were here for cruelty, for sport. Through the trees he saw them, 3 figures in dark armor, taller than any human. Their helmets glowed faintly, red lines tracing across the surface. Each carried a long weapon, sharp and cruel. They moved slowly, scanning the ground with their devices. One stopped near the broken trap and laughed, a deep, harsh sound. "The prey has been freed," one of them said in their alien tongue. "But it cannot run far. The signal is strong. We will find them, and we will make the humans suffer for interfering." Daniel crouched low, his jaw tightening. They knew about him. The trap had not only called hunters, it had also told them exactly who had broken it. He moved silently along the trees, searching for an advantage. His knife hummed faintly in his hand, but he knew it would not be enough against 3 armored hunters. He needed to be smart. He needed to fight like a human. Unpredictable, fast, and cunning, the hunters spread out, each scanning a different direction. Daniel waited, his breath slow, his mind built a plan. He spotted a branch thick and heavy above one of the hunters. With a quick motion, he cut the supporting vine. The branch fell with a crash, slamming onto the hunter's back. The alien roared in anger, stumbling forward. The other 2 snapped their heads toward the noise. Their weapons raised, beams of red light cut through the trees. Daniel darted between, shadows striking quickly with his knife. A spark of armor peeled away. The hunter shouted, spinning to strike, but Daniel was already gone. The jungle erupted with chaos. The hunters fired blindly, their beams slicing through leaves and wood. The air filled with smoke and the smell of burning plants. But Daniel did not fight them head-on. He struck from the sides, hit and vanished. Every move was fast, every strike small but painful. This is no ordinary human. One hunter growled, "He fights like a beast." Daniel smirked in the shadows, his blood pumped with adrenaline. He was outnumbered, but he was not outsmarted, and that was the difference. At last, the hunters regrouped, standing back to back, weapons raised, their armor dented, their anger boiling. "Enough games," the leader barked. "Call the others. We will burn this forest if we must." Daniel's eyes widened. There were more. This was only the first wave. He slipped back toward the fallen tree where the alien mother and child hid. The child looked at him with relief, but fear filled her eyes. "You came back." Daniel crouched low, his face grim. "They are not done. More are coming," he said. "If we stay here, we all die. We must move, and we must move now." The mother groaned softly, still weak. "We cannot outrun them." Daniel's gaze was sharp. "Then we won't outrun them," he said. "We will outthink them. We are human. We adapt, and we survive." The child squeezed her mother's hand, then looked at Daniel with a mix of fear and hope. The jungle around them shook again with the sound of more hunters approaching. And so, the desperate flight through the alien world truly began. The night grew darker, and the alien jungle turned hostile. The glowing roots that had once seemed strange now looked like veins of fire under the ground. Shadows moved with every gust of wind. But Daniel knew these were not tricks of the eye. The hunters were spreading out, their heavy boots pressing into the soil, their metallic voices echoing through the trees. Daniel carried the alien mother on his back again. Her body was weak, trembling with every breath. The child walked close, her small hands gripping Daniel's jacket. Her eyes darted nervously toward every sound. "They are near," she whispered. "I can feel them." Daniel nodded, his jaw set. "Yes, they are hunting us, but we won't make it easy." He led them deeper into the jungle, moving swiftly but carefully. He avoided open ground, weaving between giant tree trunks and slipping through thick ferns. His mind worked like a soldier's map, every step calculated, every pause meant to listen. The hunters were close enough now that Daniel could hear their communication devices. Sharp bursts of static and growling words in their alien tongue carried. Through the forest, they spoke with confidence like predators circling prey. "They will corner us," the alien mother said weakly, her voice barely above a whisper. "You cannot fight them all." Daniel looked back at her, his eyes sharp but calm. "I don't need to fight them all at once. I just need to make them believe I can." The child looked up at him with wide eyes. "But you are only one human." Daniel gave a faint smile. "Sometimes one is enough." They stopped at a stream, the water glowing faintly with alien minerals. Daniel set the mother down against a rock so she could rest. He knelt by the water, washing his knife clean. His reflection in the glowing stream looked tired, but his eyes still burned with determination. The child crouched beside her mother, whispering softly to comfort her. Daniel glanced at them, a flicker of warmth in his gaze. He was not just protecting strangers anymore, he was protecting a family. But the moment of quiet ended quickly. A sharp whistle pierced the air, an alien signal. Daniel cursed under his breath. He grabbed the child's hand. "Stay close," he ordered, then helped the mother to stand. From the shadows, 3 hunters emerged. Their armor gleamed red under the faint glow of the jungle. Their weapons were raised, sharp blades that shimmered with energy. One of them spoke, his voice cruel and mocking. "Human, step away, that prey belongs to us, you have no place here." Daniel's grip on his knife tightened. His voice was steady. "She is not your prey, not while I breathe." The hunters laughed, a harsh metallic sound. "A single human dares to stand against hunters? You are brave. Or foolish." Daniel did not waste time with words. He grabbed a handful of glowing mud from the stream and hurled it into the nearest hunter's visor. The creature roared in rage, stumbling back. The other 2 charged forward, weapons raised. Daniel moved fast, pushing the child and mother aside. He ducked under a blade, the air hissing as it missed his head by inches. His knife slashed upward, sparks flying as it scraped against alien armor. The hunter snarled, swinging again. Daniel rolled across the wet ground, rising with a rock in his hand. He smashed it into the second hunter's helmet, the impact ringing through the jungle. The child screamed as the blinded hunter fired a wild energy blast. The beam hit a tree, splitting it in half. Flames erupted, the glow spreading fast. The jungle lit up like fire lanterns. Daniel seized the moment. He leapt forward, driving his knife into the joint of the nearest hunter's armor. The alien howled, falling to one knee. Daniel pulled the blade free and shoved him into the burning tree. The hunter's armor sparked violently, the flames crawling across it. The other hunter roared, swinging his weapon. Daniel caught the strike with his knife, the 2 blades clashing with a shriek of energy. The force pushed Daniel back, his arms shaking from the impact. He grit his teeth, refusing to give ground. The alien child shouted, "Behind you!" Daniel twisted just in time, dodging another slash. The blinded hunter had recovered, now charging blindly. Daniel ducked, letting the 2 aliens collide with each other. Their heavy armor clashed, knocking them both to the ground. "Now!" Daniel shouted, pulling the alien mother and child to their feet. "We run!" They stumbled into the burning jungle, weaving between the rising flames. Smoke filled the air, thick and choking. Daniel's lungs burned, but he kept moving, guiding them away from the hunters' voices. At last, they reached a small cave hidden. Behind thick vines, Daniel pushed them inside, covering the entrance with branches. The mother collapsed against the wall, coughing weakly. The child pressed close to Daniel, her small chest rising and falling quickly. "You fought them," she said breathlessly. "You fought them like no one else could." Daniel wiped sweat from his forehead, his eyes narrowing. "I didn't win," he said. "Not yet. They will follow. They will not stop until one of us is dead." The alien mother lifted her head, her voice soft but steady despite her weakness. "Then why risk everything? You do not know us, you owe us nothing." Daniel looked at her, his voice low but filled with fire. "Because I know what it means to be hunted, and I will not let a child grow up in fear when I can do something about it." The cave was silent except for the crackling fire outside. The child's small hand slipped into Daniel's. Her trust was no longer fragile. It was complete. But Daniel knew the hunters would return, stronger, angrier, and in greater numbers. And when they came, he would have to be ready. For now they had a moment to breathe, a short moment in the eye of the storm. The cave was dark. Only faint light came from cracks above. The air was heavy with smoke drifting from the burning jungle outside. The alien mother leaned weakly against the wall, her skin pale and marked by wounds. The child sat close to her, holding her hand tightly. Her wide eyes followed every movement Daniel made. Daniel crouched near the entrance, his knife in hand. His body was tense, ears alert for every sound. He knew the hunters were regrouping. They had tasted his defiance, and now their pride would not let them rest until they destroyed him. Minutes passed in silence. Then the child's soft voice broke it. "Human," she whispered. "You fight for us, even when you could leave. Why?" Daniel looked at her, his face shadowed by the dim light. "Because you asked for help," he said simply, "and no child should cry for their mother without someone answering." The girl blinked, her small mouth opening as if she wanted to say more. Instead, she pressed her face against her mother's arm. Her trust in him was silent but powerful. The alien mother, her voice weak but steady, spoke. You carry a warrior's spirit, human. Yet your strength is not just in your knife. It is in your heart. My people. They will not believe it when I tell them. Humans are seen as selfish, dangerous. Daniel gave a faint smile, though his eyes remained sharp. Maybe some are, but not all. A distant noise broke their talk. A long, low, horn-like sound echoed through the jungle. Daniel stiffened. He knew what it meant. The hunters were calling others. They were closing the circle. We cannot stay here, Daniel said firmly. This cave will become a trap if they find us. The mother tried to rise, but her legs shook. Daniel moved quickly, kneeling beside her. You are hurt, he said. But if you cannot walk, I will carry you again. She looked at him, her alien eyes glowing faintly in the dark. You should not risk so much for strangers. Daniel met her gaze, his voice low but unshaken. You are not strangers anymore, not to me, the child whispered. Then we are like family. For a moment, Daniel was silent. The word touched something deep inside him. He had lost his own family long ago. The memory hurt, but in the small alien girl's hopeful eyes, he saw something worth protecting. Yes, he said softly, like family. They moved again, Daniel leading them through a narrow passage at the back of the cave. It opened into a dense grove where the trees grew close together. The air smelled of damp earth and the ground was soft with moss. Daniel paused, scanning the area. He needed to buy them time. He set the mother down gently against a tree and turned to the child. Stay with her. I need to prepare something. What will you do? The girl asked, her voice small. Daniel's eyes hardened. I will make them regret stepping into this forest. He gathered vines, branches, and sharp stones. His hands moved quickly, tying knots and setting hidden traps. He worked like a man who had done this many times before. In minutes, the grove became a web of silent defenses. The child watched him with awe. You fight like a hunter, but you protect like a father, she whispered. Daniel paused, the words sinking deep. He gave a small nod. Maybe both, he said before returning to his work. Suddenly, the ground vibrated again, heavy footsteps, closer this time. The hunters were coming. Daniel crouched low, his knife ready, his trap set, his mind sharp. The mother opened her eyes, her weak voice carrying strength. Human, if we do not survive, know that my daughter will carry your courage in her heart forever. Daniel shook his head firmly. We will survive, he said. I don't promise things I cannot keep. The first shadow appeared between the trees. A hunter stepped into the grove, its red visor glowing like fire. Behind it came two more, their weapons drawn. They moved slowly, scanning the area. Daniel stayed hidden, waiting, his breathing steady, his hand tight around his knife. He knew patience was his weapon. The lead hunter stepped forward and suddenly the ground gave way under his foot. Daniel's trap snapped shut, vines tightening around the alien's leg, pulling it down. The hunter roared, slashing wildly. The other two rushed forward, but one stumbled into another trap. Sharp spikes of stone slamming against its armor. Daniel leapt from the shadows, his knife flashing. He struck fast, cutting at weak points in their armor. His movements were quick, not strong but clever. Every strike forced the hunters to turn, to stumble, to lose their rhythm. The child gasped, her small hands covering her mouth. Her mother whispered, Watch. He fights not as prey, but as a predator. One hunter swung its blade in rage, but Daniel ducked, rolling across the moss and slashing at its knees. Sparks flew. The alien stumbled with a snarl. Another tried to corner him, but Daniel kicked a branch, triggering another trap. Heavy rocks crashed down from above, slamming onto the hunter's shoulders. The grove filled with chaos, roars of anger, the crash of falling wood, the hiss of burning weapons. Daniel fought with every ounce of his skill, every move a reminder. He was human, and humans were not easy prey. At last, the hunters pulled back, two of them limping, their armor scarred. The leader pointed at Daniel. its voice like thunder. You will regret this, human. You cannot save them. We are endless, and you are only one. Daniel stood tall, his chest heaving, his knife still ready. His voice was steady. Then you have never truly faced a human before. The hunters retreated into the shadows, but Daniel knew it was not victory. It was only a pause. They would return with more, and they would not underestimate him again. The child ran to him, hugging his side. You did it, she said, her voice full of hope. Daniel looked down at her, his hand resting on her shoulder. No, he said quietly. It is not over. This was only the beginning. The alien mother raised her eyes, filled with both pain and respect. Then whatever comes next, human, we face it together. Daniel nodded, his gaze fixed on the dark forest beyond. The night was far from over, and the hunter's shadow still loomed. The night dragged on, but the danger did not fade. The jungle was alive with the hunter's presence. Their horns echoed, their boots pounded the soil, and their weapons glowed like fireflies in the dark. Daniel knew they had not given up. They would regroup, surround, and crush him along with the alien mother and her child. Inside the grove, Daniel tightened the straps on his gear. His knife gleamed faintly in the dim light. He checked every trap he had set earlier, some broken, some still armed. His mind worked fast. He could not fight wave after wave of hunters in one place. They had to move. He turned to the alien mother, who was leaning weakly against a tree. Her wounds had stopped bleeding, but her strength was low. Her eyes met Daniel's with quiet determination. You should leave us, she whispered. They want us, not you. If you walk away now, you will live. Daniel's jaw tightened. And let you die? That is not an option. The child grabbed his sleeve, her voice trembling. Please don't leave us. Human. You promised. You said we are family now. Daniel crouched down, meeting her eyes. His voice was calm but firm. I do not break my promises, little one. I said I would protect you, and I will, even if it means standing against all of them. The girl hugged him tightly, her small arms clinging as if he were her last hope. Daniel felt the weight of her trust, heavier than any weapon he had ever carried. They moved again, slipping deeper into the jungle. Daniel guided them through narrow paths and hidden routes. His senses sharp, his steps quiet, but the hunters were clever too. Every few minutes, a low growl or distant thud reminded him that they were being tracked. At dawn, faint light began to push through the thick canopy. The alien mother stumbled, and Daniel quickly caught her. He set her gently on a fallen log. Her breathing was shallow, her strength failing. Daniel frowned. He needed to buy her more time. The child whispered, There is a safe place, not far from here. My mother told me once. It is where our tribe hides when the hunters come. Daniel's eyes lit up. Where is it? The girl pointed east, beyond the river, past the stone cliffs. Daniel nodded, but his face grew grim. Then that is where we go. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed. A tree nearby split apart, glowing red from an energy beam. Daniel spun, pulling the mother and child behind cover. From the smoke, hunters emerged, 5 this time, their armor heavy, their eyes glowing with hate. One of them barked, Human, you defy us again and again. Do you not know fear? Daniel stepped forward, knife in hand, his body tense but steady. I know fear, he said, his voice sharp, but I do not bow to it. The hunters roared in anger and charged. Daniel moved fast, slashing at the nearest one's weapon arm. Sparks flew as the blade was knocked aside. Another hunter swung at him, but Daniel rolled under the strike, stabbing at the weak joint behind its knee. The alien stumbled with a growl. The child cried out as another hunter rushed toward her and her mother. Daniel's heart froze. He sprinted, throwing himself between them and the alien. His knife clashed with the hunter's blade, the impact jolting his entire arm. The force nearly knocked him back, but he stood his ground. The alien mother, though weak, lifted a branch from the ground and struck the hunter's leg. The blow was small but enough to distract it. Daniel used the moment, driving his knife deep into the alien's chest plate. The creature howled and fell back, sparks bursting from its armor. The battle grew wild, Daniel darting in and out, his movements quick, his traps triggered again, vines snapping, rocks falling, slowing the hunters' advance. But still they pressed harder, their numbers heavy. Finally, Daniel grabbed the child's hand, pulling her and her mother toward the trees. "Run!" he shouted. "Now!" They stumbled through the undergrowth, branches scratching, roots tripping. Behind them, the hunters' voices roared. "You cannot escape. The forest belongs to us." The river appeared at last, wide and glowing faintly under the rising sun. Daniel's chest heaved. He turned to the child. "Which way?" She pointed across the water. "The cliffs, on the other side." Daniel's mind raced. The hunters were close. He could hear their steps, heavy and relentless. There was no time to search for a safe crossing. Only one choice remained. He tightened his grip on the mother and child. "Hold on," he said. "We are going in." Without waiting, he leapt into the river. The cold water closed around them, dragging at their bodies. The child clung to his shoulders, the mother weak but holding on. Daniel kicked hard, pushing them through the current. Behind them, beams of red light cut into the water, sizzling and hissing. The hunters stood on the riverbank, firing wildly. Their voices roared in fury, but Daniel swam with all his strength. Every stroke a promise, every breath a vow. He would not let them die here, not like this. At last his hand touched stone. He pulled them onto the far bank, gasping for air. The child coughed and clung to him, the mother lying weak but alive. Daniel stood, dripping wet, his knife still in his hand. He looked back across the river where the hunters' eyes glowed like demons in the dark. They had not stopped. They would not stop. But for now, Daniel had won a few more breaths of life, and sometimes in the heart of a hunt that was enough. The sun had climbed higher, but the jungle was still dark under its thick canopy. Daniel's body was heavy with exhaustion, yet his eyes stayed, sharp. On the far side of the river, the hunters were still there, pacing along the bank. Their red visors glowed like burning coals. Their voices echoed, filled with anger. "They cannot run far," one growled. "The human tires. The prey weakens. Soon they will fall." Daniel turned away, guiding the alien mother and child toward the cliffs. The ground rose higher, the trees growing thinner. The air smelled of stone and wet earth. The cliffs stood tall like gray teeth, sharp against the sky. Somewhere inside them, the child had promised, was a safe place. The mother leaned against him, her strength almost gone, her wounds burned, and every step was pain. "Still," she whispered. "Go on, human. Do not stop for me. My daughter must live." Daniel shook his head firmly. "We go together. No one is left behind." The child looked up at him, her small voice trembling. "They will come again, won't they?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "Yes, and this time they will come harder, but we will not bow to them." As they reached the base of the cliffs, Daniel spotted a narrow path leading upward. He guided them carefully, the stone cold under his hands. The higher they climbed, the more the jungle opened behind them. The hunters' shapes appeared again near the river, moving swiftly, crossing with heavy steps. "They are coming," the child cried. Pointing, Daniel looked down, his heart steady despite the danger. "Then this ends here," he said. At the top of the path was a wide plateau, bare rock stretching out under the open sky. Daniel led them there, setting the mother and child near a wall of stone. He stood in the center, knife in hand, his body like a lone sentinel. Moments later, the hunters appeared, 6 of them this time, their armor gleaming, their weapons sharp and humming with energy. They spread out in a circle, their leader stepping forward. Its voice thundered. "Human, you have defied us too long. You think yourself a protector, but you are only flesh, fragile and weak. Surrender now, and we will make your end quick." Daniel raised his knife, his eyes like steel. "You call me weak," he said, his voice calm but strong. "But you mistake kindness for weakness. You mistake love for fear. That is your mistake, and it will be your end." The hunters roared in rage, charging together. The ground shook under their boots. Daniel did not move. He waited, patient like a coiled spring. At the last second, he leapt aside, grabbing a loose boulder he had noticed earlier. With all his strength, he pushed it down the path. The rock tumbled, crashing into two hunters, sending them flying back. Their armor sparked, their bodies slammed. Against stone, the others closed in, blades slashing. Daniel fought like fire. His knife struck quick, cutting at joints and weak points. Sparks flew, metal clashed. The sound of battle filled the plateau. One hunter swung high. Daniel ducked and drove his blade into its side, twisting hard. The alien roared, collapsing. Another came from behind, but Daniel spun, his elbow slamming into its visor, cracking the glowing glass. The creature stumbled, blinded. Still, there were too many. Their blades struck his arms and legs, shallow cuts burning his skin. His breath grew heavy, but his spirit did not break. He looked at the child and her mother pressed against the wall, their eyes filled with fear, and he found strength again. The leader charged, its weapon raised high. Daniel met it head-on, their blades clashing with a shriek of energy. The force rattled his bones, but he held firm. The hunter snarled, pushing down. "You are nothing." Daniel's teeth clenched. "I am human," he shouted, driving his knee into the alien's chest. The blow forced it back. Daniel struck again, his knife slicing across its arm. Sparks burst, the weapon falling from its grip, but another hunter lunged from the side. Daniel turned too slow. The blade came down. Then a sharp cry rang out. The alien child had thrown a heavy stone, striking the hunter's helmet. It stumbled, distracted just enough. Daniel seized the moment, plunging his knife deep into the alien's throat joint. The creature collapsed, its armor shattering with sparks. The child gasped, her chest rising and falling fast. I helped," she whispered, trembling. Daniel gave a small nod. "Yes," he said, his voice rough but proud. "You were brave." Only the leader remained standing, its red visor glowing with fury. It raised its broken arm and hissed, "This is not over, human. More will come. You cannot fight us all." Daniel wiped blood from his face, his knife still ready. His voice was steady. "Maybe not. But if more come, I will face them too. That is what it means to be human. We never stop fighting, not when it matters." The leader's visor flickered, its voice trembling with something strange. Fear. It stumbled back, then vanished into the shadows of the jungle below. The plateau was quiet again, the air heavy with smoke and blood. Daniel sank to his knees, his chest heaving. The child ran to him, hugging his arm tightly. Her voice shook. "You saved us again. You always save us." The alien mother, weak but alive, raised her hand, touching Daniel's shoulder. Her eyes glistened. "You are not only a warrior, human. You are hope." Daniel looked at them both, exhaustion burning through him, but also something brighter, resolve. The fight was not over, but together they had survived another night. And in that survival, a bond stronger than fear had been born.